The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network, coming to you live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Now, for all the latest news on Paragators TV, www.paragators.org. My guest this hour, Exonation, is Nunzio Addabbo, and he is a retired international engineer and construction management consultant on some of the world's largest projects. Licensed as an amateur radio operator since 1950, he speaks English, Spanish, Italian, and some Farsi, is an experienced technical writer, inventor of the patented Pilot's VOR speed position calculator and the split paraboled antenna, holds commendations from the National Academy of Science and Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory, and instrument-rated commercial pilot. He is the capture team outsider with the inside secrets and the JFK assassination conspiracy, and a historian, and is a member of the American Radio Relay League, the Radio Society of Tucson, the 398th Bomb Group Memorial Association, the Air Force Navigators Observer Association, the Military Officers Association of America, and the Association of Former Intelligence Officers. Joining me now is Nunzio Addabbo. I'm sorry about that, Nunzio. Welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you very much, Rob. Appreciate the call.
Tell me, what are your qualifications when it comes to discussing UFOs and extraterrestrials?
Well, ever since I obtained my astronomy merit badge as a Boy Scout many years ago, I believe it was around 1935 or possibly 36, I often wondered if other intelligence existed in our universe. Then after high school, I became an aviation cadet and was commissioned a B-17 navigator during World War II. I was engaged in 30 combat missions in Europe. Then after the war, I became a civil engineer and taught celestial navigation in the Air Force Reserves. And I also became an instrument-rated pilot, commercial pilot, and became a licensed amateur radio operator in 1950. And as a radio operator, antennas have always been my passion. I invented the split paraboloid antenna and the pilot's speed position calculator. In 1956, the National Academy of Sciences announced that they were forming the International Geophysical Year, and that would be the period from July 1957 to December 1958. And it was during that 18-month period when we were going to be tracking a satellite to be placed in an equatorial orbit by a Vanguard rocket. Across the U.S., so at that time we had, when the program was in full operation, we we had 115 optical tracking stations in the U.S., and I directed the largest one with 16 telescopes and a team of 90 observers. As we all know, the Russians launched the first satellite called Sputnik.
Sputnik, that's right.
On October the 4th, 1957. I just happened to be conducting a practice session that night and became the first person to officially track and record Sputnik.
Nunzio, please stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Exonation, our very special guest this hour is Nunzio Addabbo. Addabbo, that's right. His website is, here's a couple of websites. Interesting gentleman, www.sisterglobe.com, www.hamheroes.com, and www.target-jfk.com. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break in 2 minutes as we continue here in the X Zone from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net. Exonation, Nunzio Addabbo was our special guest. His websites here. I've got 3 very interesting websites for you. www.sisterglobe.com. That's www.sisterglobe.com. The next site is hamheroes.com. That's HAMHEROS.com. And the third site, target-jfk.com. Nunzio, before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about UFOs, and I asked you about your qualifications to discuss UFOs and extraterrestrials, and you were telling us that you were the first observer to actually track the Sputnik satellite that was, now we're going back to, what is it, 58, 59?
That would be, no, that was October 4th, 1957.
Okay. What was it like watching the very first, or tracking the very first satellite put in orbit by man?
Well, what was it like?
Yes, sir.
Well, Sputnik revolved around the Earth approximately every 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was transmitting a series of beeps, not Morse code, but a series of beeps on 20.005 megahertz. It also transmitted on 40.02 megahertz. And I recorded those signals on my ham radio and gave the tapes to WPHI in Terre Haute and also the Star News newspapers in Terre Haute. I have an interesting story about that Sputnik. Would you like to hear it?
Oh, I certainly would. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, Frank Edwards, at that time, Frank Edwards was a very well-known UFO buff,
Mm-hmm.
and Frank Edwards at that time was also the nightly news anchor in Indianapolis. And shortly after Sputnik was launched, I received a call from Frank. He wanted me to go to Indianapolis to try and solve a local mystery involving electronics. He wouldn't give me any details. He just thought that I might help. So I drove to Indianapolis. When I arrived at the site of the mystery, there was a little house with a roped off yellow police ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
There were police cars available, and fire trucks, and there were 2 electricians on the site. The area was all lit up with floodlights. There was a large table with coffee and donuts, and Frank had a TV crew on hand. I said, Frank, what's going on here? He said, see, just wait a few minutes, and her garage door is going to go open automatically. Well, I began to make notes. I took and I waited, and shortly after, sure enough, the garage door went up. And then waited, and 90 minutes later, the garage door closed. Well, this went on all night. And when I reviewed my notes, the mystery was solved. Every time Sputnik passed overhead, its signal would trigger the lady's garage door, and it would open it. And then on the next pass, it would shut it. The electricians on the site, they took the garage door opener apart, and they determined that the garage door frequency somehow was operating on 20.005 megahertz. That was Sputnik's frequency.
My goodness! So the mystery.
The mystery solved.
Tell me, Nunzio, do you believe that UFOs are visiting our planet?
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm equally sure that they are because of their unbelievable speed and the maneuverability of the UFOs. We just don't have any type of aircraft on Earth that can achieve speeds of over Mach 40, and Mach 1, depending on the altitude, is about 743 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So Mach 40, you're looking at 30,000 miles an hour, and we just don't have anything that can fly that fast on Earth. Not to my knowledge.
Do you think that the government or the governments of the world are actually suppressing information about UFOs and their intent on this planet?
Absolutely. We can go back to Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
The Roswell crash in 1947. That was the biggest cover-up that began with our government, and I have first-hand information on that.
Could you share it with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's what I know and how I know it. First, there were actually, as far as I could determine, there were 2 crashes
Mm-hmm.
at Roswell in 1947, and that was the first. That was the first week in July, 1947. There were 2 UFOs in the area, probably photographing and wiretapping signals from Alamogordo, the nuclear test center there, also the Army Air Base there, and also the radio facilities at White Sands. And from the information that I have, one of the UFOs developed a computer failure during the early morning hours of July 3rd and crashed. The second UFO waited for instructions to rescue the first crash. Then during a low pass recovery, attempting to recover the first UFO, it developed the same computer failure, and it crashed on July the 4th. And of course, the authorities immediately surrounded the area They closed it to the public, and they had the alien bodies transported to Hangar 18 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. How do I know this? I was a good friend of Senator Barry Goldwater. I met Barry many years ago through ham radio.
Mm-hmm.
Barry was a very active ham radio operator, and we became good friends on the radio, and we met several times in person. And I had a lot of contacts with Barry over the years. Now, Barry believed in UFOs. How do I know? He told me. He said, "Nuns, I believe in UFOs." So one day, I asked Barry, I asked him if he ever had been to Hangar 18. Here's what he told me. That one day, he talked to General Curtis LeMay for access into that hangar, and bombs away LeMay told him, "Damn you, Barry, don't you ever ask me that question again." I always believed that Barry actually did get into Hangar 18, but told that story to many people as a plausible denial story. And now the story gets better. I also knew Harry Godley. Now, Harry, at that time, was in charge of all civilian personnel at Wright-Patterson in the 40s and 50s.
And if I understand right, there were over 2,000 civilian employees at Wright-Patterson going back to that time.
That's correct. Yeah. Now later on, Harry was hired by Howard Hughes for several projects,
mm-hmm.
and that's another long story for another time. I have some great details about that. But anyway, I asked Harry what he knew about Hangar 18, and here's what he told me. Hangar 18 has always been guarded around the clock by armed guards, and that I was refused entry to that hangar. I'd heard from several high-ranking officers that alien bodies were in the hangar. And he also said that I learned later on, bodies were secretly transported to Area 51 in Nevada. That's the old Area 51. That's the Groom Lake area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just north of Las Vegas. Now, the whole world knows that Area 51 has always been a secret and well-guarded base. And the known sources tell me that they have an underground city there. I've got this all detailed in my book, Globe.
But doesn't it make sense that a nation as strong and as free as the United States should have secrecy when it comes to the development of weapons that could be used against other countries that would pose a threat to the United States? And having a city under the tarmacs of Area 51, especially in the days of satellite photography that is so perfect, would make a lot of sense to a lot of people. How does this help with the story that there's crashed UFOs and aliens that are actually being kept at Area 51? And why do the skeptics or the true believers downplay the part of national security?
Well, I'm not so sure about that. But here's what's strange about the whole episode. Why does Title 14, Section 1211 of the Code of Federal Regulations
mm-hmm.
in the U.S. make it illegal for U.S. citizens to have any contacts with extraterrestrials or their vehicles? That's one of the reasons why a famous astronaut, Gordon Cooper, was at odds with NASA and the Pentagon. He wanted to reveal all these secrets, and they wouldn't let him.
All right, stand by. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour, Nunzio. Nunzio
Okay.
Addabbo is our special guest. XZUFO 3 websites. SisterGlobe.com is number 1. HamHeroes.com is number 2. And Target-JFK.com is number 3. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network and the X Zone Broadcast Network. Don't go away. We'll be back right after the news.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net. Welcome back, everyone. Nunzio Addabbo is our special guest. 3 websites for you, X Zone Nation. www.sisterglobe.com. That's www.sisterglobe.com. hamheroes.com and target-jfk.com. Nunzio, I have to ask you at this point, have you ever had an encounter with an extraterrestrial? And if so, when, where, and under what circumstances?
Yes. When I wrote Target JFK, well, that was the final chapter in the JFK assassination. I had no idea of Boris Kuchenko as a true identity. But Boris, in my book, is a Russian who eliminated one of the members of the hit team who assassinated President Kennedy. I met Boris in Mexico, and he looked exactly like a typical white earthling. I learned when I wrote Globe that Boris was an extraterrestrial from Globe, and that his son, Boris Jr., lives in Moscow, and he's a member of the conditioning team that you'll find very interesting. Boris Sr. was a barred from Las Vegas casinos because he was winning too much money at blackjack. According to the documents that I transcribed from Globe, I learned that he had, like all globes, microchips implanted in his temporal bones, which sent impulses to his brain, giving him a computer memory. I had no clue how that worked, but Boris Sr. Died a few years ago. I believe it was, I think it was in about 2001 and possibly 2002. And he died of lung failure. And the reason he died of lung failure is that, according to Globe, the alien globes cannot tolerate Earth's polluted atmosphere, and so they need to have their lungs purged frequently. And that was my encounter with an extraterrestrial.
Now, you've made a couple of references to a globe. What exactly are globe, or who is globe?
Well, Globe is the book I wrote about the Earth's new sister planet, and there's a friend of mine met a physicist at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Arecibo Observatory is the world's largest radio antenna. Arecibo antenna is a spherical dish embedded in the ground, and it's a 1,000-foot diameter dish that sends signals to outer space in hopes of making contact with aliens. I've been there several times. I did work in Puerto Rico, and I've been there during construction and then after it was in operation.
So is it... I'm a little confused here, and I hope you can help straighten me out. This agent who you believe to have been white that you met, I believe it was in Mexico, was responsible or had some responsibility in the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Am I correct so far?
No, he was on the my whole book, Target JFK,
mm-hmm.
is the story of the JFK assassination solution, and it involves a friend of mine that I met many years ago when I returned from a trip from South America, and the Russian Boris Krutchenko happened to be a member of his team, and that's the team that eliminated the hit team that killed Kennedy. He was a good guy.
All right, so Boris, who was part of the team that eliminated the team who assassinated President Kennedy, which means that the Russians were behind the assassination of President Kennedy, if I'm following this correctly, was an alien. So does that mean that the governments of the world, specifically the Russian government, was infiltrated or had been filled with extraterrestrials?
Well, no, I don't think that's true. I don't think that the Russians had anything to do with the assassination. It just happens that Boris Krutchenko happened to be in Mexico City when Lee Harvey Oswald went to Mexico City to the Russian embassy, and he also went to the Cuban embassy. That's when he met Boris Krutchenko, and Boris Krutchenko became a member of Tony's capture team.
I got you.
And back on February 11th, 1990, I was an assassination target in Chile. I was shot off a high riprap pile and spent time in 2 Chilean hospitals and physical therapy in the U.S. And it was Boris Krutchenko who poisoned the man who tried to assassinate me. That's how I met Boris.
Why would someone want to assassinate you?
Well, because I could identify Kennedy's killers.
Now,
that's written in my book, Target JFK.
All right, who was responsible for the assassination of President Kennedy?
Well, it's a conglomeration of organizations, starting with the mafia, the oil syndicate, and a bank organization, and the oil syndicate, worldwide oil syndicate. They were all joined together, and they had one man that coordinated the effort, and his name was Daniel Hill. And Daniel Hill eventually was eliminated in Iran. And
if this information is true, and I'm not doubting it, it's not. I'm just questioning it. How come this story hasn't been carried by mainstream media, and how come nobody's been brought to justice on it yet?
Because the Kennedys suppressed all the information. I tried to get the book into the Texas book depository where the assassination took place, which is run by the Kennedy family, and the director of that book depository is now the Kennedy Library, and it's toured year-round by thousands of people. When we tried to get our book into the library, they said, no, the Kennedys allow only the books on the Kennedy family, Camelot, the old man Kennedy, Kennedy Jr., JFK, Jackie, and the Warren Commission report. No other books are allowed in that library. And so the book has been suppressed, not only my book, but other books on the Kennedy's assassination have been suppressed by the Kennedy family.
Why would they want to have this information suppressed? Why wouldn't they want the world to know who killed President Kennedy?
Well, apparently it's going to be revealed in 2038. 75 years after the assassination is when they say they will release the records. And, of course, I'm not going to be around then. And neither will most of the people that knew anything about the assassination. It'd be 2038 when the records will be released. And that's when they'll find out who did it. And it was a team of assassins that were Bolivian assassins. There were 9 members on that hit team. And my friend's capture team eliminated all of them.
What was the role that Lee Harvey Oswald then had in the assassination of President Kennedy?
Lee Harvey Oswald was given a contract not to kill Kennedy, but to shoot the driver of the motorcade. And with the object of slowing down the motorcade and stopping it, and then Carlo Perez, who would be on the Dow Tex building, would take the final shot from the Dow Tex building while the motorcade was stopped. Well, Oswald suspected that he was being set up as a patsy, and when the motorcade made the final turn onto Elm Street, he chickened out and went down to the little coffee shop on the ground floor, or second floor rather, and his backup, which was a guy by the name of Gabriel, was his backup. He's the one who actually took 3 shots to shoot the driver, and the first shot missed. I believe it was the second shot that hit Johnson and not Kennedy. And during that day, there were actually 7 shots fired. 7 shots, but only 5 of the shots were real shots. The other 2 were remote charges that were placed in the grassy knoll and the trees, remote control charges. So there were 3 shots from the Texas Book Depository, 1 shot from the Dow Tex building that hit Kennedy in the back of the head, and then another shot from the grassy knoll by Dan Hill that I mentioned was the organizer of the group, and he took the frontal shot. Oswald was supposed to go out the back door of the book depository, and he knew that there was something going on, and instead of going out the back door, where he was going to be shot by Dan Hill, and then Dan would take the credit for killing the man who killed Kennedy, and Oswald went out the front door, and he went out the front door, and nobody stopped him. He went to his boarding room where he picked up his revolver, and he went to the theater. And he went to the theater to pick up his money. He had this contract for $25,000, and he was supposed to pick up his money. Well, he would. Then that's when he was apprehended by the police.
Was Jack Ruby part of the plot, or was Jack Ruby just a person who loved President Kennedy who got caught up in the emotional swing of the events?
Yeah, Jack Ruby was also a patsy, set up by Dan Hill. Dan Hill brainwashed him to believe that Oswald was the one who actually shot Kennedy, and so he had a contract to kill Oswald, and he did. And of course, Jack Ruby was an ex-mafia hoodlum who ran the Carousel Club in Dallas, and he was in with all the police. He'd give the police free drinks and free access to some of his girls, and so he could come and go through police lines without being stopped, and that's how he got into the basement to assassinate Oswald when they were getting ready to take Oswald into another cell.
Nunzio, please stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour. Exonation. Very interesting, gentlemen. Nunzio, Addabbo. Here's some websites. SisterGlobe.com. HamHeroes.com. Target-JFK.com. That's Target-JFK.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network and on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
And welcome back, everyone. It's been a very interesting hour here with our guest of this hour, Nunzio Addabbo. His websites are sisterglobe.com, hamheroes.com, and target-jfk.com. Tell me, Nunzio, one question I've always wanted to ask someone: is there a connection between extraterrestrials and the Bermuda Triangle?
Oh, yeah. I have the report. When I wrote my book, Ham Radio Heroes, during my research, I received many letters for ham radio operators that wanted to be in my book. Now, two of those letters were from operators that heard signals in the Bermuda Triangle on 652 megahertz. And one was a maritime mobile, the other was an aeronautical mobile. Now, what makes that interesting is that, unusual, is that 652 megahertz happens to be TV channel 44, and there's no such channel broadcasting in the Bermuda Triangle on that frequency. Let's see, when was it? This would have been in the early 1980s is when I received these reports about the signals coming out of the Bermuda Triangle. Now, the other significant thing about that frequency, 652, is when I wrote my last book, Globe, it was determined that the extraterrestrials received signals from 652 megahertz, and that one of their UFOs crashed in the Bermuda Triangle. So that the signal being transmitted on 652 could not have been an extraterrestrial globe. It was either a different extraterrestrial it was one of our submarines, a foreign sub, or possibly a USO. But it was not a signal being transmitted by glow. So that is very unusual.
Nunzio,
I know that you're an expert on paranormal, and I've got something that's really going to interest you.
Well, you know what? We've run out of time for tonight, unfortunately, but we will have you back on because we still have so much to talk about. Nunzio, I want to thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone.
Thank you very much, Ron. Appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure, sir. Here's some websites, Exonation. www.sisterglobe.com, www.hamheroes.com, and www.target-jfk.com. I'll be back on the other side of the news as the X Zone continues here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network and on the X Zone Broadcast Network. We'll be back on the other side of this news break. Don't go away.